for?
We are Movie Menu Reviews, our Halloween edition. On today's menu, we'll be discussing our favorite horror flicks for Halloween. Stay tuned. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast. Live on Facebook.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook.
Hi,
Hello,
Facebook.
everyone.
We meet again.
Also, if you're listening to us on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher or wherever you listen to your podcasts, thank you so much for listening as
Thank
well.
you very much.
Yes.
Someone who you can't hear on your SoundCloud, iTunes, or Stitcher because he lost his voice is my co-host, Mike Sam.
He will be our spooky ghost.
I could go.
So
I could
just
go. Woo!
Don't do that.
Don't
You're
do
going to hurt
that.
your voice.
You're really gonna hurt
Yeah,
yourself.
but just simply like
Actually,
say.
don't do that. Don't do that when you're healthy either. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, we recommend you just stay quiet even when you're healthy. Like, let's just keep it down a bit.
So the one person we wish had a sore throat today is my co-host, is here, Panelist Z, but he's healthy as a zombie.
Jokes on you. I am already dead. I am a meat popsicle.
We already knew that.
Yes, thank you. Does it name that reference? Nobody knows that
I didn't
reference.
realize meat popsicles could be such jerks.
I prefer meat bag.
Meat bag?
Meat bag.
I mean, I could be a meat bag too.
That's,
Depending on the day
Can
of
we
the
stop
week.
talking about each other's meat, please? Is this Halloween?
That sounds like on point, to be honest. Yeah.
On that note, this past weekend was LA Comic Con, formerly known as Stanley's LA Comic Con, formerly known as Stanley's Kamikaze Expo. We
Just
were,
like LA had a lot of remakes.
so we were nice. They were nice enough to invite us to go.
Yes, with press badges. Shiny press badges.
So we went and covered a couple things. So first up, they had the panel for Prospect, which is a new sci-fi film that's being released this Friday. And it stars Jay Duplass, fallen from Transplant, Sophie Thatcher from The Exorcist, and filmmakers Chris Caudell and Zeke Earl were the ones who made it. And it's by the new, it's from Gunpowder Sky's sci-fi label, their new sci-fi label, Dust.
Yes.
And it looks really interesting. You should check it out, especially if you like sci-fi.
Yeah. Also, Pedro Pascal. You forgot to mention him.
Actually, he's the lead actor, Pedro Pascal.
And if you see the trailer, you'll see it's majority of Pedro Pascal.
And his daughter.
And his daughter. So if you enjoy watching Game of Thrones.
Narcos.
Narcos. That's the same guy. And he looks fantastic in everything. So it looked really
Pedro
good.
Pascal. You can't go wrong with him.
You really can't. Yeah.
So yeah, go check that out. It goes in limited theaters this weekend and opens everywhere the following week. So if you're in LA and New York, check it out this weekend.
For sure.
The
other thing that I saw was that I saw a couple of things, and I talked to a few people on the floor. One of which was the Stargate Network. So if you're a fan of Stargate, they're starting their own channel. And
which there were several shows as a spinoff. So
yeah,
there are
and
fans out there.
Yeah, and they're. I mean, I'm pretty Stargate fan boy about it, because for me, like, even though some of them were really, really bad, Atlantis, some of them were really, really good. So SG1 there was one that there was the updated version that I really enjoyed too. I forgot the name of it, but it was just really fun. And I talked to one of the people who work there, and they were telling me that they're developing an online TV series. So they're getting all the rights to publish and release all of the Stargate franchise films and TV shows on their app. And I, thought that was a really cool idea of like, well, where does nerdom go to next, right? You have Marvel, you have DC, they're creating their own channels, and I just thought, hey, why not niche groups like Stargate? Not a huge fan. Star Trek, I feel like it's another one that could actually benefit from this. If you're a really hardcore fan and you want to just binge all of them, the Stargate Network looking fun. The other thing that I did see was that Legion M, these guys are self-published production company that they are actually So basically what you do is you invest money, and the same way that Patreon works. You invest money and you get to choose which production your money goes to.
Yeah, it's like it's a studio by fans, made for fans, made by fans.
Yeah, and the first big one was Mandy, which stars Nicolas Cage and has been getting a lot of great reviews. And we could see on the floor that they had a huge stage. They had the CEO there. They had a bunch of executives who were actually trying to get more people to sign up.
They had like mini panels in their booth as well.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. So I thought that was really fascinating. And I just thought overall, as far as Comic-Con goes, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely recommend if you are in LA next year. It's going to be, it's usually in October, so it'll be in October again.
Yeah, usually the Halloween weekend.
Yeah, though next year it's going to be like the second or third weekend in October this time. It's going to be like the 10th, 11th, 12th, or somewhere around there next year.
Cool.
So, especially if you don't want the hustle and bustle of Comic-Con, you want like a smaller con that's more engaging, you're able to talk to people more and actually watch things in panels and on the main stage, not just watch it online. The LA Comic-Con is a place for you.
Yeah. Also, hopefully next year they put it on a weekend that doesn't have every sports event happening.
That too.
Yeah.
Or marathons, football games, baseball games, everything, World Series.
Yeah, it was a crazy weekend in LA because you had USC playing, you had the Packers, you had the Dodgers, and you had everything from the Kings, the Marathons.
The Kings.
It was just
insane.
It
broke a record this past weekend of the most sports games all in LA.
Yeah.
Which this isn't sports talk, but it's okay.
It isn't. But you know what? As far as let's just give a shout out to LA. As far as LA is concerned, the public transportation was on point. So yeah, I saw some guy like in the metro who was guiding people who were going to USC, going to Comic-Con, and it was great because we got all on the trains, and it's like you have a bunch of USC fans wearing red, and then you have all the nerds packing in, cosplaying, going into the next train, and it was really, really fun.
And then part of me was like, are you cosplaying as a USC fan?
There was a guy who I swore was just like a football fan. He was like, he had the dad bod going and everything. And I was like, is he a US? And then I read his shirt, and sure enough, it was like a Patronus joke. And I was like, okay, clearly he's going to Comic-Con.
Which is funny, actually. I thought there were, like, a lot of people were in a Dodger game at Union Station. But when I looked closely, it was not a Dodger shirt. It was a LA Comic-Con shirt, but it had the logo of the Dodgers
Killer.
on it. So I was like, oh, okay. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I think it's just as far as, like, if you want to enjoy the spirit of LA and just, like, all the nerds. Because I feel like LA, you can easily sink into the hole that is LA and not see your people. And I feel like Comic-Con was like seeing our people. And so when I walked through the doors, I was like, you smell that? That's the smell of nerds. It was great.
We are home.
Yes, it was fantastic.
All right, so thank you so much, Z. We are going to go ahead and head over to our top 3 picks or something for what we recommend for Halloween season. So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
Movie menu.
Now, what are we doing again?
So we're going to talk about what films we would recommend to watch on Halloween or Halloween season, even though the Halloween season's almost over. But we do, if you are going to stay home on Halloween night because it is on a Wednesday, these are some movies we would really recommend and that are easily accessible for you to watch. Who wants to go first?
I can jump on the grenade if you want me to.
You can always jump on the grenade for us.
Thank you. All right. So, are we doing honorable mentions first, or are we going straight into it?
Straight into
it.
And honorable mentions.
But we always forget that. We always give our top whatever, and then we don't do honorable mentions.
Well, I will jump in and make sure that we remember, because the honorable mentions this year I feel like are fantastic. So my number, there's no real number to what I'm doing, but so just go with it. My number 3 on my list here is Oculus. Mike Flanagan, he wrote and directed this movie. I remember watching it with you guys, and I remember watching it and then seeing WWE as a production company and us going, oh, this is gonna suck. And I think it's been on my list for a long time as one of my fun top horror films, because I think
it's one of the most surprising ones too.
I think that's what it was, right? It was just go ahead.
Has this gone higher? Because I think typically, like, you would talk about Oculus as like not the greatest horror film.
I think just comparatively.
No, he picked it over the Babadook. So
I did, yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he talks. He has talked highly of this film.
Well, and the reason why, and I love the Babadook. It was on my list, but again, this is a Netflix, so it's on Netflix. That's another thing we should mention. It's on Netflix, so you should go watch it if you get a chance. But the reason why you should go watch it without spoiling anything is because it sets up a good premise, and Mike Flanagan, who I absolutely love as far as a storyteller, he wraps the story up so well that at the very end, you know what the ending should be, and you know what most modern horrors would do, and it does the thing that you want it to do.
It goes there.
It goes exactly where you need it to go, and at the very final scene, you literally just go, oh, fuck. And it's just a beautiful way to start and end a film. So that's my number 3 on my list.
My number 3 is going to be one that I know Z does not agree with, but I do not give a shit because it's totally a Halloween movie that you should watch. That is incredible, and me and Mike love it.
It's not.
It Follows.
No, it's not.
That movie, it's such a good movie. Michael Monroe is one of her debut films, I believe. She does it.
And you can tell.
Great job. No,
sorry,
she does a great job.
I'll stop commenting. Keep going.
But I think the way that they captured the film, they did a great job with nostalgia, but making it its own. They throw in chaos because you feel like you know the rules, but they're realistically, if you're in that situation, you wouldn't know what the rules are. You're just there guessing, and it makes the audience wonder what's going to happen next because we don't know, because it can follow you anywhere and beat anyone. So I really, really enjoyed it. So that's my number 3.
Cool.
Yeah, super fun.
David Robert Mitchell was the director as well. Keep an eye out for him.
Because he hasn't done anything since.
Shut up. I know the Silver Lake is coming out soon.
Yeah. So my number 3, I actually, what I chose for my top 3 was actually films that you'd watch in a Halloween get together. So it's in a group of people where
they're funny movies.
Actually, sorry, Mike, to interrupt. Where can you watch Oculus? It Follows, you can watch on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, for me it was Netflix.
Okay, go on.
Oh yeah, sure. So so the 3 films I chose, that was the criteria for it, was the watchability where you don't have to sit there and pay. You'll get more enjoyment out of it if you're paying attention to it, but if you miss a few scenes and come back to it, you'll still get a lot of enjoyment from it. So it would be a good party movie, or all 3 of these actually. So I got Slither on there. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, that was a
it.
fun movie.
Yeah.
I remember Slither. It's just where's this movie on?
It's on Stars. Actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you can watch it on Stars, directed by James Gunn.
You're right.
So this is before Guardians of the Galaxy. It's with the actor from The Walking Dead. Not the main.
Shoot, I'm trying to think of. Yeah.
I
know it's Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion's in it.
Andrew Lincoln? No.
No.
Not
no.
Andrew Lincoln.
No. The guy who plays Yondu.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
The actor who plays Yondu. That's correct.
All right.
We'll get his name up right now.
Right, but Nathan Fillion's the lead. I forgot who the lead actress is, but yeah, what I remember about that movie was that it was released right after he did Day of the Dead. I know he directed Day of the Dead and he directed this, so they gave him carte blanche. They let him do whatever he wanted to do.
Real quick, Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker, thank you.
Yeah, so Michael Rooker's in it, and I forget who else the secondary lead is. She's a famous actress. Can you guys look it up who she is? Elizabeth Banks. Thank you, Elizabeth Banks. So it's an absolute thrasher, but really ridiculously, if you like seeing aliens that look like penises, this is your movie for you, because it is an enjoyable film. It's just ridiculous.
It's great, and it's
in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new take on it. It's like almost a zombie film, but not quite. And it's a common. It's an alien invasion movie. It's a zombie film.
Yeah.
It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's a lot of things nicely wrapped up in one film, and it's very funny. It's a very great horror comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely enjoyable. I think that one's definitely a good party movie. I'll go with you on that, because you could just turn around and go what the fuck are we watching?
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, and you'll get tuned in because it's just really silly. And I actually still have it John Hang, friend of the show, actually gave it to me for, I think, like a Christmas gift.
Oh.
And I still own it because it's still one of my fun movies to watch.
Cool.
Nice. What's your number 2?
My number 2 on the list, again, there's no real order, so I'm just going by what I think and feel are the best ones on my list. Number 2 is, and this is a shocker for most of you guys, Paranormal Activity.
Wow.
Which
The
one?
original.
I almost was going to pick that.
The original, because it is on Prime Video, so if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it on there. And I think
it's also on Hulu, I believe.
It might be on Hulu as well, but Hulu has a weird channel thing. But anyways, it's on Amazon Prime. It is directed and written by Oren Peli, and before it got corrupted by the studios, this film actually did something not innovative, but it pushed the line on that type of filmmaking. And I remember watching it the first time, remembering while watching it, the cheap budget they had. They didn't have a lot of money, and it earned so much money. I can look up how much it actually took in, because it was okay. So it was produced for. I wonder if this is the accurate. Oh, budget is $15,000, and it made $107 million, $193 million worldwide. And the movie, the reason why it did so well was because of word of mouth. The the studio was recording audience members reacting, and I think I remember hearing a story of like the studio watching people run out of the theater, and the studio going like, "Oh, we've got a bomb on our hands." Well, and then they realized that people were leaving because they were actually scared of the movie.
Well, they did a great marketing job as well, because they really they were like, go to this website and demand to have Paranormal Activity played at your theater. So if you want, because they're like, this movie is not for everyone, it's too scary. But if you're daring to go watch it, go and tell them that you want. But it's going to be at the theater anyways. But they're trying to build the momentum and the hype for it, and they did.
And I think by doing so, like, you created such a good fan base that wanted to go watch the first one. And if you get a chance, I don't know if it's an option on Amazon Prime, watch the original unedited version. That's the one I saw originally. They played that one at Cannes, I think. And that's the one that was like, creeped me the fuck out. But I'm pretty sure you should have the original one on Amazon Prime. So just watch that. It's fantastic. Mike, you can say something?
I was going to say, was MTV attached to this as well?
I don't think they were.
No,
but
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it was Blumhouse.
Yeah,
Blumhouse.
Yeah, I think it was one of Blumhouse's originals.
Got it.
But yeah, just watch it. I know there's like 7 in the series. Don't watch those. Watch the original. I'm sure you've heard of Paranormal Activity if you've never seen the other one. If you haven't seen it in this one, this is the one you want to watch. This one's actually fun to watch. And while it is obviously using older technology, it aged well.
Yeah.
Because it's using old technology. So I recommend watching it. It's still a beautiful, hilariously scary movie. So do it for that reason. Dan?
So what I felt like Paranormal Activity was the starting point for... I mean, Blair Witch started it with found footage.
Well, found footage was done before that.
But after Paranormal Activity, there was a slew of films that followed. Now, my second pick, I felt like was a renaissance in horror films. It came... at a time where like horror films were like not that great, and this one came in and kind of changed the game, that it could be dramatic, have a great story, but also be scary at the same time without having so much jump scares. That's The Conjuring, directed by James Wan.
See, I was thinking about this one, but I couldn't find Conjuring 2 online. But yeah, go on.
But the first Conjuring is on Netflix.
It is.
And the second one is just as good, but the first one, it starts it off. And The Conjuring is such a very smart, thought-out film, and it really plays to the paranormal, supernatural, but also does a great job at making it seem like, but not making it seem, but tell the story of this couple, the Warrens, that you invest and you care about, and you see the horror that they endure, and it's based on actual events, which is always a scary thing.
Quote
unquote.
They've been sued and they lost.
But they're making a part 3, so it looks like they're dealing with
they're paying a lot of money. Is what they're doing.
Possibly, because the guy who's doing the Curse of La Llorona he's the one that's doing Conjuring 3. But the first one I felt like was a game changer and brought horror movies back to the spotlight.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Mike.
So my number 2, also a film that many of you have probably already seen, but would also be a great rewatch. especially in a party setting, which would be Shaun of the Dead.
Ah, that's
Directed
a great one.
All right.
Yeah, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Kate Ashfield. So if you haven't, I'd be surprised if you have not seen this. But definitely, if you haven't, definitely watch this in a group. I think you'll enjoy it that much more. So it's just a fun movie to watch in a crowd for sure.
I think Edgar Wright did a great job at doing the parody, where the parody was becoming like scary movie, date movie, disaster movie. That was a terrible parody, and this came on board and killed it as a zombie parody film, and really ingenious and smart the way that you do the same moment as when Sean's going to the store when everyone's alive, and then he goes to the store when everyone's a zombie.
Right.
It's the same exact scene, but you see it in different ways.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
it's
incredible.
good. It's good commentary too on just how zombified we are as a society. So I kind of dig that.
Hold on, I'm getting a phone call.
Oh, are you? Who's calling you?
No, I'm just a zombie.
Dan is now a zombie.
I'm just a zombie to my phone.
He's a phone
Oh,
zombie.
okay. I was gonna make a yo mama joke. Is it yo mama? Yes.
That's not really a joke.
Because it could be actually your mama, and that's fine. All right.
Number one.
Number one for me. All right. So number one for me, you can find this. You can. Oh, where can you find yours?
Yeah. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. It's on Stars. So you'll be. I'm sorry, not Stars. Excuse me. AMC.
Yeah. So on the
AMC
AMC app. Yeah. there you
AMC
go.
app.
All right. My next, my number one for this one is you can find us on the HBO Now network. So you have to get like a free subscription for the weekend. It is Andy Buscetti's remake of It. And as you were saying, Mike, this is a good fun movie to put on in the background, or if you really want to be genuinely scared. This is the remake of the original TV series that was based on the Stephen King book, and I think it did such a great adaptation of the book and brought that fear back enough so that I'm really looking forward to part two.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. What I really enjoyed about this one was that it kept that silliness that we now consider part of the 2018s, the 2010s, which was brought on by Stranger Things. The child as like this funny slapstick character, but also because of that slapstick ability, that surprise that monsters are real. So I think I really enjoyed this movie because I feel like the way that Bill Skarsgård presents the role of It, Pennywise, is brilliant. I think the kids sell this movie so damn well. And honestly, when I first watched it, I jumped out of my seat, and not because of a jump scare. I was just genuinely creeped out by how extreme this movie went. It is rated R, so do not watch it with kids in the room unless you want to traumatize them. Or you know what? In my case, traumatize them, because I watched them when I watched these movies when I was a kid, and I was traumatized by it. But at the same time,
That's not a good selling point. If they know who you are.
But at the same time, it built up my fear resistance that I think all horror movies should do for children.
We want them to watch these movies, see?
I do. I want them to learn how to love horror.
I want them to learn how to love.
I want them to learn how to love fear. And I think that's the best part. The best part is this movie and how it makes you both laugh and get scared at the same time. And it ties it so well. In the same way that your movie that Shaun of the Dead did, which is like, there's a reason why horror and comedy are so similar. It's because you have a secondary emotional reaction to horror. You laugh at how ridiculous you were for jumping and being scared. That's why I think it's great.
Yeah.
Except my film is probably one of the scariest movies ever made, and it's my favorite horror film. You don't even see the creatures with an hour within the movie
I keep
because
trying to look over your shoulder.
You are scared because of claustrophobia, and that's The Descent.
Oh,
Damn it! That was one of my honorable mentions.
That you can watch on HBO now as well.
Yeah, you could.
Great
Yeah.
one.
The Descent,
Good
which
choice,
is
Dan.
directed by Neil Marshall.
Yep. Written and directed.
Written and directed by Neil Marshall. And the movie, it does a great job setting up these females as friends who are going to do like rock climbing in these caves.
Yep.
And it does a great job with atmosphere and setup for anyone who is claustrophobic to be already afraid of it, creating all this tension, creating all this history and this, what's going on. I don't want to ruin it for you. But then as soon as they introduce these creatures, man, all bets are off, and it just gets insane. It's so good. I dare you to watch it with all the lights off in your house by yourself.
Yeah.
It is a scary film.
Well, and the great part is that it's an all women's cast, right?
Yes.
Like primarily there are some dudes that show up, but it's
Pretty
just
much.
women going on a retreat, and then they get stuck in a cave, and it's like all bets are off because there might be monsters. Spoiler alert. That there are monsters, and it's just good because it feels like a throwback. It really does feel like a throwback to like a good 1980s slasher film, but it does it in a way that is thrilling. So if you're impaired by the idea of horror, this movie is easily a thriller as well.
And I really like how they cleverly used like found footage in this. It's not really found footage, but the way they used
like the
handheld camera.
The handheld camera for the infrared.
Yeah, and it's just very well.
Well, the night vision, I should say.
Yeah, for night vision, it's a very well done device, and it completely enhances the horror in that film.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, great choice for my part.
Yeah.
Mike, let's see how if you can top that.
You had my honorable mention, so screw you, Dan.
Is Dan done patting his own back?
No, never. Have you known me to?
No, he's still going.
I'm still going.
You get, just keep going. Walk right through it. Just.
So my
boring.
My number one is also a fun film to watch in a group, which is Train to Busan.
I disagree. You should watch that by yourself.
That is a great movie. But I'm like, Mike, when do you ever watch movies with a group?
I've watched movies. I have friends. Okay, I don't.
I was gonna ask, do you really? Come on, man.
The people in the theater are my friends.
Why
do you think?
You know what? I'm actually not surprised Mike said that because that's a very creepy thing to say. I'm like, that sounds like Mike.
He's like, but all the people in theaters are friends of mine.
He's in the theater like, you're my friend, aren't you? And they're like,
why do you?
Can I sit next to you? Because you're my friend. Yeah.
Why do you guys? When did Mike become Pennywise all of a sudden?
There's only like
come play with me, Georgie. Come play with me.
There's only one other person in the theater.
I'm Mikey. Who are you?
Yeah. It's only one other person sitting in the theater, and I'm sitting right next to them. they're like scooting over.
Or you'll sit right behind them, going just breathing into their neck. My name is Mikey. What's your name?
Wanna play?
Train to Busan.
holding a balloon.
There you go.
Yeah, so Train to Busan, that's a South Korean horror film, zombies on a train. What I think the World War Z film should have been.
Yeah, I agree.
Train to Busan delivers on that. So
That's a great film.
yes, super fun to watch. And I do. I know we all have honorable mentions.
Well, yeah, I've got a ton of honorable mentions.
so we can get.
But
to
before we go to that, let's go ahead and do one honorable mention.
That we
Not a movie.
we're doing ours.
TV shows.
Yeah, we want to do a
Don't
TV
worry,
show.
Mike. You're abstained of this one because we didn't actually include you in this one.
That's
We don't know. If, you don't have Netflix right now.
well,
to
I
watch it,
mean, I can mention what I've seen, but it's
No.
probably like 10 years old.
No.
no, something that if you don't feel like watching a movie, but you do want to watch something, me and Z highly recommend The Haunting of Hill House.
Right. And I think ultimately what I enjoy about Mike Flanagan. So this is Mike Flanagan, same director of Hush, Oculus. He did another one that was really bad that I just recently saw. It was really terrible. But anyways, he did this one, The Haunting of Hill House. It's a 10-episode series. And what I enjoyed the most of it is that it really does take time to make you feel scared. It starts off slow, but it moves its way up to the point where you really question whether or not it's sanity or the paranormal. And of course, because you're watching a show called The Haunting of Hill House, you know it's paranormal, but it still has you questioning in the same way that Mike Flanagan does it in Oculus. So
No, because trauma still haunts you. So it's still questionable whether it is psychological or if it's supernatural.
Right. So in the same way that Oculus plays with time, this movie also does that. And I think that saying that isn't a spoiler because you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, the cast is great also.
And the cast is fantastic. I mean, there are some things that I could have done without as far as like the casting because some of the actors are weaker than the other ones. But the main cast are just spot on. You have Michiel Huisman, who came out in Game of Thrones. Carla Gugino, who's been in a lot of things lately on Netflix. She does mainly like Netflix Stephen King movies, which I think is like a weird niche to be in on, but she's been doing fantastic work. We also have Elizabeth Reeser from, I think she was in the Twilight series. I'm not really sure, but I really did enjoy her performance in that. And Kate Siegel, who again was
She's the wife of Mike Flanagan, right? Yeah, she's the wife of Mike Flanagan.
She's Mike Flanagan's wife.
Was she the star in Hush?
Hush,
Yeah,
exactly.
Hush.
Yeah, who is balls out
great.
fantastic.
She's also the demonic spirit in Oculus.
Oh yeah, she is. Yeah.
Now, what was funny about watching this movie was that Kate Siegel comes on screen, and I honestly was like, she can talk? Because in Hush, she's deaf and mute. And so in this one, seeing her talk and hear people was kind of a shock to me. But anyways, this TV show is fantastic. Dan, which is the episode that freaked you out the most?
I don't know if it freaked me out the most, but the best episode, in my opinion, is Two Storms.
That's episode 8,
Six.
I think.
That's
6?
episode
Okay.
6. No, episode 8, there was a jump moment that I don't want to give it too much away. But I think episode 6, the way they made that episode is
Theatrical.
incredible.
It was very theatrical because you really get a chance to watch the camera move around the scene.
Well, let them experience it.
Sure, absolutely.
But just episodes, I mean, the first 6 episodes are great. And the show is so well done.
Yeah,
It's such a
I think
well-done show.
there's definitely a binge point where you hit it and you're like, I need to know more. I think it's episode 5. Episode 5 kind of gives you a little bit more.
There are moments like literally like I teared up and I was like, "What the?"
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. I tried watching it at work. I couldn't do it because I couldn't focus on doing work because I was just. but I also couldn't tear myself away from it. That's the thing. I was just so enthralled by the way that this series was shot that I was like, I need to know more. I need to end. For me, I need to finish this story. And I was freaked out all the way through it. And I think if you want to watch something that's long form that will freak you out, that'll be more than 4 hours long because it's 10 hours long, this is the series for you.
Sounds great.
Yes, we
Check
are
it
not
out.
sponsored by Netflix, by the way.
Yeah, we're not.
We should be.
You should be.
Yeah.
You hear that, Netflix?
Send the checks to Mike Garza.
Yes.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
So honorable mentions of films. I
Don't have, right?
don't really have any.
Okay, so I've got...
No honorable mentions.
I mean, I don't know if they're on Netflix or not, but there's definitely
okay.
like honorable mention of horror films.
All right.
Like Hellraiser is always a great one to watch. The first and second one.
Good
Hellbound.
point. The honorable mentions I have as well. I don't know if...
All right, so I'll name mine that I know for a fact are on Netflix. So for me, The Shining is on Netflix, I believe. If not Prime Video, I think it's on Netflix though.
Do you-
it is on
The
Netflix.
Stanley Kubrick or the
Stanley
remake?
Kubrick,
Yeah.
The Shining. Now,
or the Stephen King.
let me finish. Mike.
TV film.
Let me finish, Dan. The Shining is the movie series directed by Stanley Kubrick. It is obviously not based off of the book. It's an adaptation, but it does a really good job of just freaking you out and explaining to you what psychosis looks like when you're in isolation. So it's a really fun movie to watch. You should watch that. My next movie on my list is Hush, which if you get an opportunity to watch it before November 1st on Netflix, otherwise it'll be removed. So if you have a priority list, put this on your priority list, watch this, so you just get a good idea of what Mike Flanagan does with movies and just the landscape.
I would say skip it and watch Haunting of Hill House. I didn't really like Hush that much.
I loved Hush.
That's right.
Yeah, we talked about it last year. Hush was really disappointing.
Yeah, everyone I've talked to about Hush, who I've recommended to, comes back to me going, that was amazing.
Except Dan.
Except for Dan. Dan doesn't count, though. Under the
I feel like I
Shadow,
count the most.
Under the Shadow, which I believe it's an Iranian horror, it does the same thing that Babadook does, which it takes the idea of grief and it amplifies it by putting it in Iran.
Well, now I have an honorable mention. One, I actually have two. Once Bitten, you can watch on Hulu, which is great.
Once
and
Bitten,
with Jim Carrey
yes.
in the 80s. It's
What was it called again?
Once Bitten.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great one.
It's a horror comedy.
Yeah, horror comedy. And the other one is another horror comedy is What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes,
Yes.
good. That's
Gotta
on Netflix.
watch that one.
That's on
'cause
Netflix.
It's hilarious. It's great.
Yeah.
No, hold on. Sorry, AMC. That's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what we do in the shadows. I don't even think you could.
I wouldn't recommend that to everybody.
I don't think that you could even consider it horror, but
No.
it's definitely the season to watch it anyways.
Yes.
You could watch it at any time, but watching What We Do in the Shadows now is perfect.
But
So-
it's also a very difficult movie to watch if you've never watched anything that director has done.
No, 'cause that
with
was
the
my first time
exception
watching-
of Thor Ragnarok. Oh, really? That was your first
That
one?
was my first. That was,
Oh,
my,
Yeah, that
okay.
was mine
Okay,
as well.
okay.
Yeah,
Because it's very dry humor, and you
Oh,
really
it's so
need to be in the
funny.
mood to
It's
be laughing.
hilarious.
You can get drunk while watching it, really, and
Yeah.
you really
Yeah.
enjoy it more.
Which I actually saw in a group, and it was great. It was great.
Was it a theater, Mike?
It was. No, it wasn't. It was actually it was actually a party that
All right,
I snuck in.
My final honorable mention.
through the window.
Yes.
My final honorable mention, which is not available anywhere, so you will have to rent this. But this is one movie that I watched 1994 when I was a young lad. Again, I was watching horror when I shouldn't have been watching horror. Rated R. It's directed by John Carpenter. It's called In the Mouth of Madness. And it was probably one of the most trippiest films I have ever seen. And again, I was very young. Sam Neill delivers what I can only consider a Stephen King-esque portrayal of an author who is going insane. And it leaves you scarred because you really walk away going like, was it psychosis or was it supernatural involved? And I thought that movie itself was a good representation of what authors have to go through when they are writing a story. Like the story become alive, and it's just a really awesome film. If you can find it, watch it. It's fun.
It kind of reminds me of like, it's almost like a Goosebumps for adults. That's kind of like,
Yeah, that's good.
and
That's
it's
a good call.
super dark, super gruesome. It reminds me of like almost as heavy as like Jacob's Ladder. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah.
With Tim Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
which is also a super trippy film. That would actually.
That's on Hulu.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Which would actually be, I think, probably a great double feature with In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
I do have some. But I don't know
Just
where
name
you
it.
do.
Just name it.
Oh yeah. So Jacob's Ladder being one.
Okay.
Hulu.
Yeah. So Dan had mentioned The Descent. So the director he actually of The Descent he actually made a film before The Descent called Dog Soldiers, which is
The werewolf movie.
yeah, is probably the best like werewolf makeup I've ever seen, or
Interesting.
werewolf costumes I've ever seen. It was a super enjoyable film.
Yeah, it is.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Thank you very much. And let's see what other honorable mentions we got. Okay, I know Z would disagree with this
If
one.
this is what follows or it follows, then absolutely fucking not. That's a terrible
It's already
movie.
mine. Fuck you.
Terrible movie. Don't watch it.
No, it's
It,
great.
It would be Hereditary, which came out recently.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think it's 2/3 a good movie. I think the final act is what ruins
Or
it.
another mention is speaking of which, The Witch.
yeah, that was
The
actually
Witch.
The
yeah,
Witch
yeah.
is on Netflix.
That's on Netflix.
Again, it is a slow burn, so I wouldn't recommend it to everybody unless you really want to be unsettled and you're willing to watch an art house film. It's a rarely I rate it as a takeout, no, as a dine in, and I still stand by it. It's just not a movie for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's another slow burn that I would recommend watching as well. It's called The Wailing, and it's a South Korean horror film. Same thing, like you don't know if it's just people going crazy or if there's actually supernatural things going on. But when it answers that question, I think it's
Yeah, you're on your own.
very well done.
I couldn't find it.
I believe that's on Netflix. I saw it on Netflix,
How,
actually.
how do you spell wailing?
Wailing, Wailing.
Oh, that wailing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Not like
I was looking for
Free
whales.
Willy Whale.
I was looking for whales. That was like the whaling. I found the war on whaling. That sounds weird. It is on Netflix. It's
Yes.
got 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I would highly recommend
Wow.
that. And
I think I might check that out, Mike.
You
Thanks for
should.
recommending it.
yeah, let's
No,
see.
I'm not.
Also, another horror comedy would be Witching and Bitching, which I think is very, very fun. Have you seen
I
it?
didn't like it. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No.
Okay.
Another one that I would recommend is The Others. It's on Netflix.
What is
Is
the-
Nicole Kidman one?
With Nicole Kidman.
Oh.
It's a
Yeah.
classic. It's a
It
classic
is.
film. If
It
you
is.
haven't seen it,
It's a nice touch to it.
I apologize. It's on Hulu.
Hulu.
But yes, it's still like it's if it hasn't been spoiled like The Sixth Sense has. I think it came out somewhere near around the same time as that, and it just re-inspired a lot of the horror genre we're currently in. As far as like the narrative of ghost telling, I think that one was a really good one. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Let's see. I would also recommend. It's not a horror film.
Final recommendation, Mike.
Yes.
Final one. All right. Final recommendation, which which I've always recommended for like I think the past several years, is The Last Circus. So, and I think Halloween is a good time to watch this film. So it's crazy clowns. So it's really fun film.
Sounds like the opposite of what I want to spend my. It's on Prime.
It's no longer on Netflix.
It's on Prime Video.
I'm surprised they took it off Netflix.
Yes.
Okay, well at least it's on Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys for recommending your films that no one's gonna watch.
We gave you guys a list.
So I think we have a pretty solid list, and I think if you guys are looking for something to watch, or if there's something that we missed, let us know. Comment on our Facebook page or on iTunes or SoundCloud, wherever. Feel free to let us know what you are going to be watching for Halloween and what movies you recommend us to watch.
Yeah, put them on the Facebook page, and
Yes,
I know me and Mike will
Instagram
definitely be
or
interested in
Twitter,
watching
anywhere.
Yeah.
Let us know on our social media so we could go ahead and check it out. Thank you so much, Z, for being
You're
here.
welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike, for not blowing out your voice for being here. And I'm Dan the Man, host of Movie Menu Reviews. Until next time, happy Halloween, and see you next week with our new episode of Movie Menu Reviews.
See you
Thank you
later.
guys. Goodbye.
2, 3, 4.
What's the scariest horror film you've ever seen?